Hello, this is Catherine Dubberly, the Answer Lady. I'm a big fan of KISS looms, and I am cooperating with Kelly at KISS to present to you a whole series of looming techniques especially for KISS. We're going to do this on all sorts of KISS looms, so you get to see every basic technique on your own loom. Welcome and enjoy. Let's work a drawstring cast on so that the initial end of the knitting can be drawn in to form a tight O, in the same way we sometimes gather off. This is the only instance I can think of where I don't start by knotting a slip knot or other sort of loop into the yarn. You can use one and undo it later, but I like to do it like this. I'm just going to sit my loom down on the yarn tail so it'll stay put, and then I'm going to cast on by going around every other peg. That one gets gone around, this one gets skipped. Around number 3, skip number 4. Around number 5, skip number 6. As always, make sure that you stay behind the pins. You don't need to hang the yarn up on them. For example, I wouldn't do that. That'll create problems. So we're basically doing what would be a normal U-wrap, but around every other peg. Now when we get back to the beginning, make sure this stays anchored. Now we're going to do a completely normal U-wrap all the way around the loom. Here's side number 3. No, that was 2. Here's 3. So now some of the pegs have 2 wraps on them because we wrapped them once before on the every other peg wrap, and some only have 1. All of those that have 2 can now be knitted over. All of those that have 1 obviously cannot. There is a bit of a tendency on this row, because of the looseness created by that first wrap, for these loops to want to misbehave. They may want to flip over a peg or not all the way go down, but it's not a problem to control them, and I find the hand that I'm working with, in this case the right hand, is of course using the loom tool. The other hand can help by pushing down and controlling any naughtiness on the part of these loops as you knit them over. Alright, here we come to the end of the cast on. That last stitch, which is really the first, is the toughest because of course it's attached to a completely loose strand of yarn, so I'm reaching under to tighten it. That's my initial strand, this is my working strand. Now we proceed to knit completely normally for however many rows, but I will tell you that the first couple are a little bit tough because of the looseness that you're dealing with just prior to them. You'll still maybe have some loops want to misbehave and have to control them. Especially I find at the corners, see what that wants to do? Keep it behind all the pegs. Make it do what you want it to do. Just be watchful and you won't have any problems. It's not like a huge big deal. It's just something to watch for. And from this point, knit to however long you want your project to be. In a minute, I'm going to show you how to draw in the drawstring, and I'll show it to you directly on the loom, but it would be fine, and it's probably more common to actually wait till it's off of the loom and you've bound off or cast off the terminal edge in some way. Alright, I'll see you in a minute, and we'll draw in our drawstring. By now I've knitted 6 rows, and the knitting is now completely normal. And I've knitted myself around to where the yarn tail began, the same position. So that's how you know I've finished a complete round. If you look at your lower edge, it may not be very attractive. It could be loopy. It could be uneven. But we're not going to leave it the way it is. That's just the nature of this start. how we draw it in is to find the yarn tail that we began with. It's got to be that one. And I'm going to start pulling on it with my right hand while you watch what happens in the middle. Voila! It'll draw in as tightly as you want, and of course when this is off the loom, it could be the bottom end of a decorative ball or possibly a sock toe, mitten fingertips. If you wanted to knit a top-down hat, this could be the top of the hat crown. I would use this yarn tail then, thread it into a yarn needle, and stitch across my opening a couple of times. First I'd draw it all the way tight so there was no hole. Then stitch across it, knot the yarn, and weave the yarn tail in and snip off any excess.